How to find the next crypto trend before it explodes. If you guys have been following my channel, you guys probably already know the answer is to find these reversal patterns. And one of the most important, most common reversal patterns that I've been showing you guys is the falling wedge pattern, which usually tells you after an extensive downtrend on that time frame, it is likely to break back out to the upside. As I've been showing you guys, basically over and over again, these falling wedges on these candles charts are very simple and effective. So make sure you guys spot them. Um, I usually like to pick setups and opportunities within these patterns because they're lower risk rather than chasing pumping green candles on the day of. Okay. If you guys chase those candles, let me know how it worked out. I have been there firsthand. So let's come back here. We're going to be talking about some altcoins later in this video, which is going to include LOKA or LOKA, League of Kingdoms Arena. That has had a major pump. Let's see where it is at right now. Also, going to be taking a look into XYO Network. See what has happened in that market since the last time we've talked about it. I know a lot of you guys want to see a follow up, so here it is. Also, going to be taking a look into Decentraland, which is Mana, MANA. See what's going on in this market and for some possible opportunities. Uh, but first things first, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin because it is still the driver of this crypto market, whether you like it or not. Bitcoin dominance is on the decline, however, which is very good for altcoins, especially if Bitcoin continues this bull cycle, which, in my opinion, it's very likely to continue. I got my money on it. I am long on Bitcoin and quite a bit of the altcoins here, so my opinion on this market is still bullish. And I'll tell you guys when I change my opinions and why based on what I'm seeing in the charts. But right now, I am still looking at this bull cycle, and that we're still very early in this bull cycle. We're kind of late according to the Bitcoin halving cycle, right? If you guys actually compare to previous halvings, we're still, I mean, nowhere near being on time. What I think the market is waiting for is a rate cut or rate cuts, okay, which I think we're very likely going to get in September based on the CME watch tool. All right, let's go ahead and get into some news first before getting into the charts, okay? So, first piece of news here is by Crypto Potato. Bitcoin price analysis. Is Bitcoin about to hit 120K or 110K next? I think Bitcoin has a higher chance of hitting 120K next because I've been pointing out that it's trying to break out of this falling wedge pattern on the daily time frame. I'll show you guys in just a second, okay? So I got my money on 120K next. I think that's more likely to happen. Of course, I am not gonna rule out 110K. If this breakout fails, then that could be where we're heading again. But right now, I think 120K is more likely. All right, next piece here is going to be by Cointelegraph. Traders bet on 200K year-end Bitcoin, but real odds tell a different story. I think 200K is definitely very much within the cards. I mean, I just I don't know. I mean, I can't really tell. I would love to hear the opinions from the bearish side, but I just don't see right now how I could be bearish on Bitcoin, right? I think I mean, I think this bull run is long overdue. I think it's waiting for a rate cut from the Fed, which I think very likely it's going to be happening next, I mean, for September. Let me show you guys This is the CME watch tool. I just refreshed this odds today. We're still sitting at about 90% of a rate cut in September, and I'm already seeing the markets reacting differently. Okay, which goes with the stock market, the S&P 500, as well as Bitcoin and quite a bit of these altcoins. I think this is what the market is waiting for. I think that's what's going to bring in retail, right? So I mean, I just don't. I mean, I don't really see too much of a bearish argument, at least in my own opinion. Of course, this whole video is just my opinion and not financial advice. You got to do your own research, but that's just my thoughts. All right, next is going to be also by Cointelegraph, how to earn crypto passively without trading. Well, I do think that at the end of the day, you still have to make a trade or two, right? Because even if your strategy is to ride this thing out and not stress too much on day-to-day trading, I mean, you still want to know where the bull cycle peak is, right? Or at least the bear cycle bottom as well, right? That way, if you just want to ride it out, then you just make those couple of trades, and you still have to learn the indicators, right? I'm not gonna rely on YouTubers telling me, if this is gonna be the potential peak or bottom, just because there's gonna be so much different opinions in the markets. I read you guys the news every day, and you guys can see the contrast in opinions and who you're really gonna listen to. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really just going to be how you read the markets, how you read the indicators, even if you just want to ride this thing without trading too much. Of course, I am an active trader. I trade every day. I think my strategy is to compound by taking profits at the highs and buying back at the lows. And I think I'll be a lot more profitable this way. All right, next piece here is going to be by News BTC. Crypto set for a $1.25 trillion tsunami as Trump opens 401k floodgates. Yeah, I heard about this yesterday from a friend at the dog park. Right. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come to this. Wouldn't have come to my radar until maybe today. And I heard it's actually huge. Let's just come into the details here real quick. I think this is going to be pretty important in terms of the numbers. Let me just read this to you guys. It says, now the executive order will not merely remove the roadblocks, but actively open the gates. According to Bloomberg data cited by Rasmussen, the 401k market is valued at approximately 12.5 trillion. That is huge. Just to give you some perspective, the total market cap for the crypto markets, it's about 3.8 trillion right now. I'm pointing that right now. So this is huge. So now it says even a 1% allocation to crypto will translate to $125 billion in inflows, and a 10% allocation to crypto could reach $1.25 trillion. So that is huge. So I mean, imagine, just remember like how the ETFs were big. I mean, I would expect this to be pretty big as well. So very bullish for crypto. All right, let's go ahead and come to the charts. Right, this is going to be very important. This is the Bitcoin daily time frame charts. I've been talking about a potential breakout here because it's trying to breach this upward trend line. Okay, if this actually breaks out, and not a fake out like we saw back in just a couple of days ago, because fake outs do happen. I've seen my fair share of it, but it's still a good idea, a very good idea, to chart your trading patterns to get at least an early notice on a potential breakout. If this Bitcoin breakout is successful, I am looking at a price target of about 100, just right underneath 125k here. That is going to be huge for the altcoins, because if Bitcoin has more room to run, so will the altcoins. Now, price targets are estimates only. There could be more or less. I've seen price targets get broken and completely, the bulls take over. However, I've also seen breakouts that fall way short of the price targets and just flops afterwards. So just gotta take into consideration of those different scenarios, even if you see a breakout, because nothing in this market is 100%. Now, there are some very important resistances here, including the daily 21 SMA, which is what Bitcoin is trying to get over right now. Okay, the blue line at about 117K. Something to be very much paying attention to, because if this is not successful, it could come back down to maybe come back down towards the bottom of the pattern here, and range within this pattern, which would probably give you 110K. But like I said, I do think this breakout is more likely, and 120K is more likely than 110K right now. Just my opinion. Let's go ahead and go to altcoins. Okay, we're gonna first take a look into XYO Network, see what has happened in this market since the last time we've talked. XYO Network. Now, this is a smaller altcoin. It's ranking 200 and below, I think. Let's just check again. You guys can use Crypto Bubbles, which is it's gonna be a very user friendly interface for checking altcoins and what's popping and what's dumping during a day. So this is about it's way under 200, so it's a smaller altcoin. So definitely be careful of its volatility, because even though it has major upside, it also has major downside potential. I like holding some of these smaller altcoins because I have the risk tolerance, and I do think there is a appropriate time to hold these coins, especially when Bitcoin is in an uptrend, okay, or it's in a bull cycle. All right, so XYO Network, I've talked about this setup last time. Let's take a look into, I think, probably the 12-hour time frame, or even a lower time frame, where this falling wedge is probably more validated. Yeah, 4-hour time frame. Falling wedge pattern, like I've been saying, it's going to be a very important pattern, very common pattern as well, simple and effective. This one has broken out to the upside. I've talked about this last time, so it shouldn't be a surprise to you guys. Price target would be about just short of 1.3 cents there. XYO basically went up to about 1.2 cents before getting a rejection. So this breakout still valid, and this price target still valid, because the price action is still above this upper trend line, and that price target has not been met. So let's see what XYL could be doing next. Would it continue towards its this shorter price target of about 1.3 cents? Now I am seeing a rounded bottom pattern here on this 4-hour time frame, and rounded bottoms basically tells you that there's higher highs and higher lows on that time frame. And if this rounded bottom trajectory continues, I could expect to see a potential cup and handle pattern that develops with the resistance to be about 1.2 cents, right? As you guys can see, rejection. But if this rounded bottom continues, cup and handle pattern could form. Just a very early guess here, not completely developed. Let's zoom out a little bit for XYO. All right, so we have a much bigger rounded bottom that could still be in play. This is the weekly time frame, so if it's gonna take a lot. It's gonna be taking longer to play out, but as you guys can see, also a rounded bottom here on this weekly time frame. So let's just get some perspective. Okay, so this traces back to November 2021. Okay, the end of the last bull cycle. Okay, so it could come back up here, all the way up here to about 8 cents, 8.1 cents. to form a huge rounded bottom and a potential cup and handle pattern there, but these are going to be some very longer term projections here. So first of all, you're going to be looking out for that 1.3 cents targets. I also did mention that there's a weekly time frame here, a smaller falling wedge. Price target out of this one would be about 3.9 cents. Let's see if it gets there. All right, let's go ahead and move into LOKA, League of Kingdom Arenas. Okay, LOKA. This has had a crazy pump from about a weekly candle from about 11 cents all the way up to $1.30. I took some profits from here, closer to about 45 cents, I want to say, if I remember correctly. So not too bad of a profit. Of course, I missed out on quite a bit of it, but that's fine. I'm not going to catch everything. It's more important that I compound my profits. So let's take a look into the weekly time frame here. This is the weekly time frame falling wedge pattern. Like I say, it's gonna, you know, it's a very important pattern. Okay, broke out of it, or at least try to break out of it on this weekly time frame, because it hasn't had a solid candle close yet, just a very big wick. It's trying to stay above this upper trend line here and break out on a longer term. So let's take a look into the daily time frame, see what we're working with. Now, daily time frame, the RSI looks to be pretty overbought, right? It is trying to stay above this upper trend line, because on this time frame, it actually looks like it's broken out of this falling wedge pattern, because it has candle closes above this pattern here. Now, very important to see LOKA actually stay on top of this upper trend line with daily candle closes. Otherwise, this could be a fake out, right? It could potentially come back down to the daily 21 SMA, or wait for the daily 21 SMA to meet the price action, as the RSI has been pretty overbought, right? Let's take a look into a smaller time frame here, 4-hour time frame, where you could probably see a falling wedge pattern that has broken out, right? Price target out of this falling wedge pattern would be about 47 cents for LOKA, which is still pretty big move, but this is a smaller altcoin, so just something to be considering for the downside risk as well. So this is basically what I'm looking at for LOKA. Let's go ahead and go to Decentraland, Mana, see what's happening in this coin. Haven't talked about it for years. So let's see what's up here. Weekly time frame. Weekly time frame. I'm waiting for TradingView to load. Sometimes it could give me a pretty long lag, right? So a falling wedge pattern, probably more validated on a 3-day time frame. I'm just looking for as close of a 3 candle touches on both trend lines as possible. Probably even a daily time frame. Or even smaller. But just know that it is a validated falling wedge on one of these time frames. Probably even the 12-hour. So quite a few falling wedges here you guys can see. All of which has been breaking to the upside. Even though sometimes, where you see the market breaks out of a falling wedge, it's not uncommon to see, downtrends after a breakout, because there's just so much resistance above the price action. But this is what I'm seeing. Bigger target here for Mana, about 65 cents. Smaller target here, this is the 12-hour time frame, would be about 35 cents for this smaller falling wedge pattern that has also broken out. So this basically wraps up for this video. Let me know if you guys want to see any more of these coins by dropping a like, comment, subscribe, or any other coins in this market. See you